Hello, welcome to this session where I'm going to share important tips on how to prepare for competitive exams, precisely the recruitment of grade 1 teachers into the public service in Cameroon. So that is the focus of today's session. I'm going to share my screen and put it on full screen, and we'll move from there. So this is the session. I'm Z. James Kum, a professional translator and a bilingual teacher. So I'm going to drill you on some of the tips that you need to prepare for the recruitment into the public service. So stay tuned. So let us begin right away. Actually, it is very important to use these 20 exam tips to prepare adequately for the various question papers that are given. This session is for those who have CAPIEMP, holders of CAPIEMP who are preparing for the competitive exam into the public service. So I'm going to emphasize on what you need to do for proper preparation. The first point is for you to look for past question papers. Look for past question papers for the various areas of concern. So there is a question paper for general knowledge. There's a question paper for technical paper, and there's another one for the second official language, which for the Anglophones, it is French. So you have 3 papers. You need to prepare for those 3 papers. Don't just sit and wait to go and write. Find out what is generally asked in the exam. The next tip is for you to practice answering typical questions. It does not suffice to look for past questions and just glance through them, but make sure that you actually try to practice answering those questions to measure your strength, to see if you can actually tackle such questions in the exam. The third principle is for you to time yourself while practicing. Sometimes people practice and give themselves too much time than will be expected in the exam. It's not so good because you may answer correctly because you have more time. If you know that something is supposed to be answered within 2 hours in the exam, try to answer within that time frame. If you use maybe 4 hours to answer that type of question, you may give the impression that you know the question very well and can answer, which is not often the case. Try to practice within the time limit to know your speed of answering questions and to be sure that you can actually follow the exam, the exam time that will be given for such questions. The fourth one is to contact experts to check and mark. It's all sometimes easy for some questions to know that you have answered correctly, but there are some other questions that you may not know by yourself whether you have answered correctly. So if after checking by yourself, you're not sure, you can contact some other experts to help you check whether your answer is correct. Don't just ask them to answer the question for you, but answer first and ask them to confirm if your answer is correct. It's better that way. The next tip is to study the methodology of the various question papers. Of course, the methodology is very important. Each question paper has its own methodology. General knowledge has its own methodology. The technical paper has its own methodology. So it depends on the type of question you have asked. So there are some questions that are structural questions, others are essay questions. So depending on the type of question, you need to answer accordingly. For French, for example, you have to fill in maybe the blanks with the correct answer. So in such situations, you don't need to write elaborately. In some cases, you may even have MCQ, multiple choice questions. So depending on the type of question you have, try to answer following the instructions as strictly as possible. Tip 6 is for general knowledge. You should focus on the following. So actually for general knowledge question paper, this is very peculiar. For grade 1 teachers, topics like the clean school is very important for you to check on that. Prepare adequately for such topics. The physical, clean school, intellectual, moral, and so on, all the aspects of clean school. Also, check on bilingualism in Cameroon, especially the difficulties and the solutions to solve the problem of bilingualism in Cameroon. How do people are Cameroonians bilingual, really bilingual enough? If not, what needs to be done to become very bilingual? So those are topics that you check on. Also, find out more about digitalization and artificial intelligence. This is very important to find out about these concepts because they are they are often used nowadays, and we are talking about even artificial intelligence as a theme of the school year. So it's very important to concentrate on that. Also, check on aspects related to education, inclusive education, specialized education, sex education, and all of that. Also, find out the difference between inclusive education and specialized education. Those are very important things. You can also have issues related to peace and living together. So those are very important concepts for you to master before you tackle the exam. Another thing that you need to pay attention to is for paper 2. Paper 2 has its own focus. Generally, it is on pedagogy and psychology, issues related to learning, issues related to pedagogy, child psychology, and so on. So take note of that. But specifically, you have to think of types of intelligence and memory. These are concepts that I've checked over several past questions that often come up. Classroom organization in primary school as well as nursery school. So in nursery school, how is it done? In primary school, how is it done? Principles and method of teaching vocabulary. Principles and methods of teaching grammar, and so on. Try to find out all of that. Teaching approaches and pedagogy methods. For teaching approaches, you can think of competency-based approach and objective-based approach, and so on. Try to find out all of that before you go in for the exam. Also focus on the schemes of work, how to design a good scheme of work, how to write a good lesson plan. Find out all of that, revise your notes on pedagogy and psychology before the exam. Another important tip is for the language paper. So for the language paper, in this case, is French. If you are an Anglophone, of course, you write French. So these are the aspects you need to focus on for as far as French is concerned. For grammar, you need to consider aspects like féminin des adjectifs qualificatifs, les déterminants comme les adjectifs possessifs, les adjectifs démonstratifs, les articles, all those basic concepts, les adjectifs interrogatifs. Please revise all of that in French. Another important point is for conjugation. Try to master basic tenses in French, such as le présent, l'indicatif, l'imparfait, le passé composé, and any other related tenses that you think may come in the exam. In fact, revise your basic French. If you can have your notes, check on that. You can check online and revise of that. I'm going to make another video focusing on some of these aspects. Another important aspect is vocabulary, le vocabulaire. Donc, il faut maîtriser le vocabulaire, précisément la dérivation des mots, les synonymes des mots, les antonymes, etc. So take note of vocabulary and master that. It's also important to know how to read a text, understand it, and of course, answer questions on it to show your understanding. Like reading comprehension, la lecture. Il faut vraiment lire un texte et pouvoir répondre aux questions. So practice doing that, please. Practice reading a text and answering questions in French. And take note that when you're answering a question, make your answers complete sentences. So don't just give one word answers and try to make sentences to prove that you really know how to write French well. Essay writing. So essay writing is referred to in French as rédaction. So you may see rédaction and I give you a topic to write on or two topics to choose one. So whichever topic you choose, make sure that you write respecting the grammar, conjugation, vocabulary related to the topic and proofread your work. Another important tip is for you to check the sitting position where you are writing the exam. So on the eve of the exam, visit where you are writing the exam, check where the hall where you are going to be writing, check your sitting position before you even come the following day. So also sleep early and wake up very early and go straight to go and write. Don't program any other thing on that day. Focus on the writing exam. Remember, it is very important and you are going to determine your future from that exam. The next tip number 10 is don't forget important documents and writing materials. Of course, you need a receipt. After registering, you need to keep it handy to take it to the exam, or you need to have your ID cards kept before you even go to bed. Keep your writing materials intact. So you need to keep a pen, of course, pencil, eraser, ruler, depending on the type of subject and what you want to answer. Just get all of that handy. Keep them in a specific place before going to bed. All of them should be put together so that you don't forget any of that. And tip number 11, be punctual in the exam hall. Of course, punctuality is very important. It's advisable to be there 1 hour before the start of the exam. If the exam is starting at 8 a.m., of course, it's important if you arrive there by 7 a.m. for checking in and all of that. So don't arrive late. Sometimes you will not be allowed to write if you are too late for the exam, or even if you are allowed to write, you will start panicking and you not use enough time. So the consequences will be obvious. Another tip is to read and follow instructions very strictly. Of course, the importance of instructions cannot be overemphasized. It's obvious that if you don't follow instructions, you will not be able to answer the questions well. If you're asked to underline, underline. If you're asked to encircle something, encircle. If you're asked to answer in a sentence, answer in a sentence. If you're asked to answer in a paragraph, follow that. So, depending on the type of question, please answer as instructed. Don't use other approaches to answer questions. Use what has been clearly indicated on the question paper. Tip 13 is to answer all the required number of questions as instructed. Answer all the required questions as instructed, not more, not less. When you answer less, of course, you lose some marks for not attempting the required number of questions. If you answer more, you rush over that tendency for you to rush over, and the examiner will choose the number. So if you are asked to answer 3 questions out of 5, it's advisable to answer the 3 questions. If you answer 4, you are wasting your time. If you answer 2, you will lose marks. So take note. Tip number 14, write in your best handwriting as neatly and clearly as possible. Of course, it's very important to write very neatly, because if you write carelessly, you'll not be understood, and the examiner may give you low marks because your handwriting is not clear enough. Probably they're thinking that you've not answered the question well, or some words are not correctly used. So try to make it possible to present in your best handwriting. This is not possible if you don't practice. You need to practice prior to writing the exam. Try to answer the questions and see if your handwriting is legible enough. Give someone to check and see that everybody should be able to read your handwriting very clearly. Remember, you are writing to become a teacher, and a teacher is judged also from their handwriting. Teachers are judged mainly from their handwriting too. When you write on the boards, when you write in your books, wherever you write in your pocket and so on. So you need to prove that you can write very clearly, so that you will be given that responsibility. It will be part of the assessment, indirectly part of the assessment. So take note of that. Another important tip is to skip lines between questions. Generally, you need to leave some lines before questions. You have to answer maybe 3 questions. When you finish answering question 1, please leave enough space before going to question 2. That space is important for examiners to make remarks, and it's also important to make sure that everything is clear. If you join question 1, question 2 immediately without any line, a fast marker may even make a mistake and consider that you are answering the same question. So if you have moved to question 2, he may rush over the marking and think that that was still question 1. So it's very important to clarify. Okay, this is question 1. Leave some lines, move to question 2. Leave some lines, move to question 3. Don't just put everything together in a way that is not very clear what demarcation you have between questions. So very clear. Even if you have question 1A and question 1B, I will advise that for question 1A, You answer, you keep a line or two before question 1B, for example. So make sure that everything is clear. Nobody's going to penalize you for skipping lines, but you may lose marks if you join everything together. It's not very clear. Question 16, tip 16, is for you to number questions and avoid recopying them before answering. Avoid copying questions before answering, except when told directly to do that. Except somebody says, copy this and complete. Especially in the case of a table, for example. In the case of a table, we may be asked to copy and complete, but other questions that just ask, just number the question, start with the answer, and your answer should really introduce the question. So start saying something regarding the questions, instead of copying the question word verbatim and providing an answer. It's not necessary and it's time consuming. No marks will be given because you copied the question that you may not finish because you are wasting time copying questions. So think about that and see which method to use. Of course, you should just write the question number and start answering it in a way that somebody knows that, okay, this is the question that was asked. For example, if somebody says, what is pedagogy? It's not important to write, number one, what is pedagogy? They start saying, pedagogy that's waste of time. So if somebody says, what is pedagogy? What is very important is to write the question number, question one. Pedagogy is. When you start defining it, somebody will not know that, okay, that was a question that we were asked to answer. Number 17, avoid cheating in whatever form. Of course, you should avoid cheating because you don't know the consequences are very devastating, and you may be sanctioned, you may be asked not to, you may be disqualified automatically. It's better to write and they decide whether you are passed or not. But if you are caught cheating, of course, you may be disqualified instantly, and that is more disastrous. 18. Don't neglect any aspect of written language. Aspect of written language like spelling, grammar, conjugation, capitalization, even punctuation marks are very important. As far as French is concerned, we have that additional aspect of accents that you need to mark, indicate on any word, wherever those accents are necessary. Don't neglect anything. Anything can give you one more mark. So neglecting something can make you lose a mark. Being very serious and trying to indicate correct grammar, correct spelling may help you to have more marks. Of course, that's a competition. I need to be the best. So do your best. Number 19, always proofread your answers properly if possible. If possible, because you may not have time to proofread. But in cases where you finish some few minutes before the end of the exam, instead of rushing out to prepare for the next paper or to rush home, why not glance through your work to correct basic grammatical errors, errors of conjugation, punctuations, and putting in that full stop, that final full stop that was lacking. Some people will finish writing without even put a full stop. So try to be very conscious, put even a full stop, even a comma that is necessary, even that S that is lacking, even an apostrophe that is lacking. You may say something like, my father's car, and you don't have the apostrophe S. You need to put it. Don't forget to put it. It will help you to have more marks, and of course, you'll be able to pass the exam in flying colors. The last but not the least is don't discuss answers after answering each question paper. After each question paper, you need to wait for the next one, and you don't need to waste time discussing the previous question paper. If you want to even discuss something, it should be the next question paper. What am I going to write next? Basic things, discuss some basic things that may help you to perform better in the next exam. If you want to discuss, wait at the end of the exam. You can discuss. Of course, there are no consequences when you discuss after the exam is over, so there's no problem at that level. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I wish you good luck for those who are preparing for the exam, the entrance exam into the public service. If you are holder of CAPIEMP, this video is for you. You can share with anybody who is preparing for CAPIEMP. And if this video is useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Of course, it's very important to share for others to learn and prepare adequately for the exam. If you have any questions or you need personalized guidance, my email is on the screen. You can just email me and I'll provide maybe my phone number or other ways of contacting me more directly. So here is my email address monprofdvd@gmail.com. Feel free to contact me if you need additional services. You may also contact me if you have questions regarding the exam. I'm ready for that. So let's end here. Wishing you good luck once more. Goodbye.